Hi everyone, it's Alison here. I'm going to show you how to do the sunflower card now. So we've got this painted with watercolour pencils, and I've got an undercoat of the Wink of Stella or the Spectrum Noir glitter pens. Okay, so that's there. Now I've got the pattern here. Just going to fold it under. Easier to manage. Right, so the first things first, as I say, is to put an undercoat on. The reason we put an undercoat on is that it helps to give a surface for the paint to stick to. Okay, so you don't have to be ultra neat, you just have to make sure that you cover just the petals in this case, and also the leaves. We used to do this with watered down pearlized paint actually, but this is a lot quicker obviously because it's in a brush pen, and it's just got a lovely little sort of glitter look to it. So I just doing that quite quickly. I am going to do the centre as well. I don't know if you can see, or you can just see, I think, with the camera there, that it's just a little bit glistening. Okay. So I'll just let that dry for a moment or two. Now the next thing is the watercolour paints. I've got a palette here, and I'm going to put on, obviously, some yellow. Now I'm using watercolour sticks. They are Caran d'Ache Neo Colour 2, but you may have some other ones, or you might even have the normal pencils. And what I tend to do with a normal pencil, just imagine this as a pencil lead, is take the colour from here. Sometimes you can get sticks actually that don't particularly want to go onto palettes like that. So again, you could probably take them off from the nib. And I want a little bit of brown on there, and also a little bit of green. So it's a sort of olive green, that one. This one actually, if you want the colour, is moss green, which is a good description really. And the brown I used was one called Burnt Umber. Okay, so I'm just going to move that to one side. I've got my pot of water as well, and my little bit of tissue, kitchen towel. If you're right-handed, make sure everything's on your right, so you can dip into the water, dip into the paint, and you've got your tissue handy, and similarly left-handed, go on the left. Right, so just move things around a little bit here. Here we go. So what I'm doing, hang on, let me just move this in again. There's the water. What I'm doing, just dipping into the water, and then the tissue, if you've got it a little bit wet, just roll it gently like that. And then I'm going into the paint here. I've got quite a bit of yellow paint going onto my brush, and hang on, let me just move it again. We will get there in a minute. So when I'm doing the palette like that, and then you twist it, okay, twist it off, so that keeps your point. And then we're going to start painting. Now you can do this two ways, because they're pointy petals. The easiest way is to point there, bring your bristles down, and just drag like that. Okay, and that's probably the best thing to do to start with. That's it. Got my brush a little wet there, but I think it'll be all right. So I'm just going to paint very quickly, really, some petals down there like that. Now because it's yellow, it's quite easy to do. Okay, we'll move around a little bit more and paint one or two more. Now that's all very well, but of course you can't now tell where each individual petal is. Let me just zoom in just a fraction more. So we're going to need to put some colour, a different colour, where we want the shadows to be. So I'm just taking a little bit of the brown now, just getting that going. And I'll start sort of in the middle here as an obvious one. You can see there that that petal is over the top of that one. So I'm just going to sweep a little bit of colour up against that petal. And the same perhaps at the back here, a little bit of colour that way and a little bit of colour that way. Now I've probably taken some of the yellow off, so I'm actually going to go back and put some more yellow on. I've got a little bit more yellow here because I'm going to go back down that petal with a tad more yellow. That's better. I think perhaps the yellow was a bit pale to start with. That's better. Just do that petal again there, and that one. You can see no special technique really with the yellow when you pop it on first of all, as long as it looks reasonably smooth. I'll just let that dry for a moment or two. I'll come round here. I've got a little tiny bit of brown again, and I'm just going to put the tiniest bit here. Now what you need to remember, says me, I've got far too much brown on there. That's okay, because I just go back with a bit more yellow and get rid of that. That's a lovely thing about watercolour paints really, is that they are movable. Once they dry you can still move them around a bit. Never goes right when you're on camera, you know. Much easier when you when no one's looking. Right, put a bit more yellow up there, that's better. If I get that piece of white card again, look underneath there now, you can just begin to see the petals actually now beginning to form with some of that brown. I'm going to carry on and just do a couple more for you. That one there in particular, where are we there? That's quite a tricky one just there, look. So it's just the tiniest little bit. What you've got to try and remember is the T shape. Okay, so you've got the edge of your, or the line drawing there, and you make a T. Can you see I've made the T there? I haven't got, oops, moved it. I haven't got a Y like that. I'm not doing that. I'm doing that. And that'll become quite important in a minute when we go on to the leaf, because you need to be able to do that sideways. Okay, a little bit more there, a couple more just over here, one there, drop more water needed, a bit just in there, and a bit under there like that. Okay, that'll do for now, for a moment. We can always add to it, which is rather nice. So just pop that underneath again, and you can see the petals are beginning to form. I'm just going to move on to a leaf before I do the middle, because that I'm going to talk a little bit more about that T shape, as I was saying. And also the other thing we've been using is we've been trying to do a spread butter. So I've got my T shape there. There's the top of the T, and there's my down bit of the T, as it were. Just start that off. Now, as soon as you can, you start to spread your butter. So you're spreading along there like that. You spread. And you might want to just spread up around that point there. So you can see I'm bending the bristles a bit as I do this. And you can just work your way back as well if you want to. Oops, up there. Like that. Turn round. Just make sure you've got your paper movable. Got quite a bit on my brush already, so I'm not going to take any more for a minute. Get up through there, up there, round, and I just do a little bit of a wobble as well, so you don't have to do that actually. You can just literally spread your paint or spread your butter. Okay, that's done the outsides now. So we'll take a little bit more paint, and I'm going to go up the centre now, so that centre becomes my top of the T. Got too much water on my brush again. You soon know, actually, you soon get to know whether you've got too much water, too little water, or whatever you need. Coming round. And up the middle there. Now, the more you push it, do you see, the more you spread that, can you see that line appearing? That's what you're trying to achieve, that line, because we haven't traced anything. It is all just done with the paint. And we need to go around those petals a little bit. I've escaped to look over the top of that petal there. Naughty, naughty. Let's see if I can get rid of it. Just with a little bit of yellow. Yeah. So they're so forgiving, these watercolour paints. Just try not to over wet anything. And if you want to, you don't have to do this, but if you want to just put a few little side veins in, you can just have the tiniest bit on your brush. Sometimes if you've got plenty on your leaf anyway, you may not even need to put more paint on. You can just move the paint around a little bit, and then you can just stroke in or smooth in, spread your paint along the side veins. Tiny bit more needed colour. Better. Okay, so that's a few petals and a leaf. Okie doke. Now I'm going to do the centre. So for the centre I need black actually. So I'm going to put some black on there on my palette. I've got a very, very dark brown. Where's it gone? I thought I had a dark brown. Never mind, I'll use that lighter brown again. And I'm going to mix a little bit of green in with that. So let me just show you what I'm going to do. There's my palette of bits and pieces. I've got a wettish brush here. I'm going to mix that black with the brown, with the green, and make an interesting colour. I'm just going to dive in my tin a minute, see if I can find a deeper brown. I don't like that brown so much. That's better. You see what I'm doing, sorry. This one is... can't see for the life of me what it is. Oh, a raw umber, that one. Raw umber. So there we are. We've got a really quite interesting colour. Black, brown and green. So now we're not going to need much in the way of water on your brush because I've made it quite wet. So I'm just going to take a little bit of that colour on the tip of my brush. And this can be probably a bit laborious, but I just want you to go dib dab, like that for the centre. And just gradually work your way around, all the way around obviously. I'm just going to do this little bit. By the time you've got all the way around, it will have dried a little bit, so that'd be ideal. And then you can start coming inside the circle just by dib dab, dib dab. Have a look on the internet or somewhere, see if you can find a photograph of a sunflower centre. They are absolutely fascinating. The way the seeds all just spiral round, one on top of the other. It really is quite amazing. And we're just going to keep going dib dab with the point of the brush until you've filled it all in. Eventually, of course, that will be stippled as well. Okay, so that's that little bit. And I'm just going to fetch some embossing tools and I'll do the next bit with you in a second. Okay, one thing I've just forgotten to do on the painting part is just to take a little green, tiny little bit of green, and with the point of your brush, it's good to, I don't know, you can see I'm holding it really, really, really close down, very, very, very upright, and then I'm just going to put the odd little bit of green in the middle of some of these petals, like that, just to give them a bit of character. Okay, once that's done, we can then take that away, and I want you to trace the edge with white pencil, by the way. So all this piece here needs to be white pencil. Now we're going to turn over onto our embossing mat. Good rub. Tumble dry sheets. Now I'll just start with the petals. And the thing with the yellow petals and paint is that you can emboss them, and in fact the yellow petals, I say, really do need embossing. If you've got other colours, you may not need to emboss quite so much, because you may get the shape all right. You can see there the difference that embossing's made on that yellow. It's quite incredible, actually. Stipple the centre. I'm not going to demonstrate stippling. I'm assuming everyone can stipple. Then the leaves, I'm going to use the Mega Ball tool here and just rub gently over the back of that. That just brings the paint back to flat. Whenever you put paint onto parchment, it kind of makes it warp and things, and if you emboss it back, it will then bring it back to flat, if nothing else. I'm giving those a bit of shape there as well. So that is your embossing of the flower. Okay, so moving on then just to the embossing part of the edge. I've got a medium ball tool here, and I'm going over my white pencil lines with that. And you probably want to do this a couple of times to make sure that it's good and deep. And what I do tend to do is leave this for a bit to rest, and then I will come back a bit later on with my micro ball tool, and I will emboss that again with a micro ball tool. I might even wait until I've done all the pricking out before I actually do the micro ball tool part. And the other bit, of course, is just emboss that round the edge there. You can emboss, actually. Where's my? I've got a ruler here somewhere. Use a ruler, and I've actually got my little shader here, tiny little one called the micro shader. And if you line that up there, you hold it tight. Perhaps they've got some rubber feet or something on it. Hold it tight, and then you can run along with that shader. It gives it a decent, reasonably thick line then. And the other thing that needs doing is embossing this bit here, which, where are we? There, which I kept solid. So I'm just going to use my normal 3mm ball tool and flick in from that outside edge. Like that, to fill that in. So I've got a bit of shading between the outside and the inside there. And what else do we need to do? The leaves here need to be embossed. And again, I just like to use my little shader. I'm just going to put in that centre vein, and then carefully go from the tip on each one like that. Okay, just flick from the outside edge towards the inside, like that. Okay, so once you've done that, it'll be down to pricking. I'll just show you that in a sec. Okay, so with the 2-needle tool, I'm sure a lot of you don't really need me to demonstrate this, but 1 needle into the back hole. Oh, I picked up the bold one here actually. The bold 2-needle tool. Actually, to be honest, I quite like using the bold one every now and again, because it gives some really decent little picot edges. So just be careful how you go up and round. As you're coming round where you've already been, i.e. the other side of this one here, make sure that you give yourself plenty of room. Don't get too close to that white line. You want to be close enough, but not ultra close. There we go. And the next thing, of course, is obviously you need to cut all that out. But actually, before you cut that out, if you were going to do what I suggest, where are we? Oh, come back on screen. There it is. With the micro ball tool, just run in there like that. It makes the world of difference. It's amazing, actually. If I just do that a little bit there, I don't know whether you can see how bright that becomes. And then you cut out. Right then, so finishing, oh yes, I went round the outside edge, sorry, with the Pergamano small semicircle, or any little semicircle like that would do. Why has that gone really dark? It's because I've got mirror card there. How weird is that? Can you see? I don't know if you can see that. Let me just find my... I'll put that underneath it, see if that stops it reflecting. And you see there that little mini semicircle. Just run around the edge with that. Excellent. And then I put it on some mirror card with some brads and a sticky on pearl. So hopefully you enjoy that one.